破滅の門が開くだと。
下級の事態。
I don't know who you are.
まさか今の声は。
Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Happy Halloween, everyone! Or rather, Happy Garoween. I am the Kaiji no Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network, and tonight I conclude Halloween month with a look at the latest Garo series, Heir to Steel Armor. It has been 9 years since Goldstorm Sho aired, which saw Keita Amemiya tackle the Ryuga universe for the first time, giving us what may be the best Garo series to date. 2018 brought us a follow-up film titled God's Fang, which pit Ryuga against a resurrected Zinga. And that was the last time we ever saw Ryuga. Since then, there was a spin-off on Zinga, an unconnected Garo series set in a VR game, a movie that teamed Raiga up with his dad and grandfather for a final adventure. So, at long last, we are finally getting a grand send-off to the Ryuga universe. Or so it seems. With the series that came out earlier this year titled Heir to Steel Armor. Heir to Steel Armor is the third season to Ryuga's story written by Norikatsu Kodama, meaning Amemiya is absent yet again for another Ryuga journey. Kodama is an actor turned writer, and Heir to Steel Armor is his first Toku show. His other works include a movie called Slackers and a television series called PTA Grandpa. He did appear in an episode of Kamen Rider Den-O and an episode of X8, however. I guess that means he knows something about Toku, right? Either way, it is quite disheartening to learn Amemiya has no involvement with another Garo season, which is getting tiresome considering he seems to be the only one who knows what he is doing with the franchise. But you never know, maybe Kodama could prove me wrong. Is Heir to Steel Armor on par with Goldstorm Sho? Or are the signs there that they really just need to let the Ryuga universe go? Watch to find out. The Heroes! As already stated, this series revolves around Ryuga, but none of his former companions are with him, even Rian.
Think about that. That's just dumb.
The lack of Rian alone does not bode well for this series. Her and Ryuga had such great chemistry together, and their partnership really helped set Goldstorm Sho apart from every other season. Watching their camaraderie gave Sho a different feel in a similar vein as to how Batman stories are different depending if Batman is on his own or has Robin by his side. It felt like it was harkening back to some of the earlier Metal Hero series where the female companion was on equal footing with the titular hero. Having Rian gone is a major detriment to the show, and even Kiriyama's acting seems to suffer from the loss of his co-star. None of Ryuga's other friends are present either. Oh, and Zaruba no longer has his upgrade mode. Sure, it was rather pointless, but like Rian, it is just gone without any explanation. So with everyone missing, surely there are a new load of characters to enjoy. Right? Right? At the start of the show, Ryuga is greeted by Red Riding Hood. Makai Priestess Koyori. Koyori has come to request Ryuga assist the Makai Knights of Curiosity on a troublesome task.
破滅の門が開くだと。
下級の事態。どうしても黄金騎士の力をお借りしたいのです。私とクレアシティに来てください。
He agrees and immediately heads to Curiosity with her. Did he let Ryume and Ryan know about this, or are they just supposed to automatically know he's gone to another city? Curiosity is a bustling metropolis made up of one walkway, an alleyway, and huge skyscrapers in the background. Curiosity feels smaller than Vol City did in The One Who Shines in Darkness, with how limited we are in seeing the city itself.
ここ数ヶ月それほどの因果を持っていると思えない人間がホラーに憑依されているんです
I will give the crew credit for having the same civilian show up in this spot, like they did with a gangster who was saved in one episode from a horror, and then later is seen hassling the only homeless guy we see throughout the 12-episode run.
村重さんやめてください
食い殺してやる
あの人だったんだ
From here, we are introduced to 5 more new characters. The priestess boss of the town named Mitsugi.
よく来てくれました。黄金騎士、道外龍がホラーが頻繁に現れるようになったこの由々しき事態。これまでクレアシティは相馬小より私の3人で守ってきました。
The city's rookie defender, Soma Shirahane.
ここは俺の町だ。手を出すな。邪魔をするな。
And a trio of grunt knights named Ran, Obi, and Igus. Or as I prefer, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Mitsugi has summoned Ryuga to Curiosity because Soma isn't experienced enough to handle something called the Gate of Destruction. What is the Gate of Destruction, you ask? Well, obviously it's a gate that causes destruction. Or prevents destruction? Or is destruction?
クリアシティのどこかに最古のゲートと呼ばれる破滅の門があるのか
はい
なぜ破滅の門が開きかけてると分かった
ホラーの出現が増えているんです破滅の門には人の因果を増大させ闇へと誘う力があると言われています
Ryuga is there to help with the gate because Soma's dad disappeared during the last checkup 3 years ago. Ever since then, the gate has been acting weird. It is revealed to us that Ryuga met Soma's dad at some point after Goldstorm Sho and trained with him to learn a specialized attack that lets him shred horrors even quicker than before. Guess what that means? A return of the one-hit battles from the one who shines in darkness. This upsets Soma as he feels his dad's technique belongs to him and only him, and he does not like Ryuga being in his city.
あんたがなぜ先行剣舞
教わったんだお前の父さんから
Soma is an arrogant brat who refuses to believe his dad is truly gone and doesn't care who gets injured in battle as long as he wins. He will even draw his sword upon an ally if they speak ill of his dad.
父さんが破滅の門の異変と関係してると言いたいのか撤回しろ
At least for the first 4 episodes. By episode 5, he realizes heirs and starts acting like a hero and starts to look at Ryuga as a mentor figure.
改めて魔界騎士である自分を見つめ直そうと思います
He wants to live up to his dad's name and someday inherit the armor his dad donned called Zango. In the meantime, he fights in generic-looking armor that everyone in the Steel Clan has, with his being named Hagane. I can't say I am a fan of Soma, and I'm not sure why. I like the idea of Ryuga taking on the role of a mentor figure and training an inexperienced knight, as it feels like a complete circle with how Barai treated him in The One Who Shines in Darkness.
なんだ今の戦いぶりは
若いして失格なのはお前じゃないのか相馬。
It's interesting, and yet, there's just something about the way On Nakano portrays Soma that irks me. I'm not sure if it is Nakano's acting or the writing, but his characterization does not flow well. He's brash, then angry, then regretful, all within such a small time span that makes it hard to really get a feel for his character. He goes from 0 to 100 back to 0 too quickly. Then again, this is a major issue with Heir to Steel Armor in a nutshell. Mitsuki is the same way. Tomoka Kodatani has been in a multitude of films and TV shows, from Samurai Resurrection, a live-action adaptation of Erased, and Shinobi Heart Under Blade. As such, you would think she would be experienced enough to handle Mitsuki, and yet her acting comes across incoherent, as if she had no idea how to portray her character. Sometimes she underacts, other times overacts. There is no consistency with her. Even Miko Nakazawa, a newer actress, seems to know how to handle Koyori better than Kiratani does with Mitsuki, which says a lot about the writing and directing of this show. Koyori is madly in love with Soma.
ああ見えて親思いなんです。
小よりは相馬のことは何でもお見通しなんだな。
We are shown very little as to why she feels this way. Their interactions are extremely brief, with half of them him treating her poorly. It feels like she is really just in love with him because she dreams of changing his personality to be the greatest person ever. The villain! Wait! I almost forgot to talk about the 3 blind mice. They're there. Louis was friends with Soma's dad and feels he is not living up to his reputation. He wants to leave Ron in town as Soma's partner, to which Mitsuki contests.
鋼としての誇り。相馬にはそれがない。
ですが、この町を守りたいという意志は人一倍あります。
相馬が守りたいのはこの町というよりも五道の帰る場所だ。ロンならこの町を守ってくれる。
Hugh and Dewey do stuff with stuff on stuff that does stuff. I honestly don't know what the point of these guys were, because they did little to nothing outside of being Soma's training bitch for a moment to show how angry he is. They don't partake in the final battle at all, and they transform twice over the entire show. They are a complete waste of their actors. If you couldn't tell, Obiyashu Nishime, who is Kamen Rider Ghost.
黄金騎士よかったら手合わせ願えますか。
お失礼だろ。
Akihiro Yamamoto, Ron, was in Godzilla -1 and in the live-action version of Alice in Borderland Season 2.
龍河に出会ってなおさらそう思ったよ。鋼でさえ十分重いのに他の鎧はもっと重そうだ。
Finally, Kantez Asaka was a Gusu, who has been acting since 2007.
我が友五道はこの地に眠る破滅の門が人海に及ぼす脅威に備え対策を模索していたはず。
The villains! At least the horrors look cool. There are only a handful of horrors to be found here. The best of them is the first horror we are introduced to at the beginning of the first episode that seems like Sadako entered the 21st century. My second favorite is a bullied waitress who tries her hand at being a dancer for a nightclub. She probably has the most amount of screen time over any of the other horrors.
いつまで悲劇のヒロインを演じてるの？あんたはきっぱり諦めるか、もう一度ステージに上がるか、はっきりしな。
実を使えるのが自分たちだけだと思ったら大間違いさ。まさか。
There's an architect who is being set up by gangsters. poor dude who just wanted to go home and not be attacked by thugs. There are a couple of humanoid-looking horrors similar to what we had in Goldstorm as well. And I do wish we had gotten to see more of the horror from Ryuga's flashback. The horror seemed to be brought by an estranged woman in red. She's pretty much non-existent. The real villain of the show is a disappointingly predictable individual who I shall not name. It's dumb as hell, but at least she is given a cool costume. Nevertheless, I knew the show would not be able to match Zinga and Amari, but I thought they would at least put some effort into their main threat. The effects and music. Now this is the one area that Heir to Steel Armor was truly successful in. Visually, the show looks good. Lighting is great. There's little to no CGI used, which allowed the production team to put their best work into the look of the horrors. They look like something you would see in a Brule Brothers drag show. The makeup is fantastic and allows the actors to truly emote. As I said, my favorite horror is the one introduced first, with the dancer being the second. Nevertheless, I am truly impressed with how much work went into their costumes, which makes it even more disappointing that the majority of them barely lasted 5 minutes. Fight choreography is great, though the camera work left a lot to be desired after Goldstorm Sho. One of the best fight sequences ends up being between Soma and a forest spirit. On the downside, the Hagane armor and the armors of the rookie trio are exactly the same, outside of each having different colored eyes. That was a complete letdown, as was the amount of suit action. Now, to be fair, it was cool to see armor that grunts would wear, but it would have been nice from a production standpoint to actually see different armors used, especially for Soma and the leader of this trio. I think Ryuga transformed into Garo 6 times the entire show. Episode 8 saw him transform twice, and I made the joke. Twice in one episode? Oh, wait. That means he's not going to transform for the next 2 episodes, doesn't it? And sure enough, he didn't transform at all in either episodes 9 or 10. The fight against the dancer was extremely frustrating because we've got our heroes struggling to fight the horror, but they're not transforming. They make this comment. Like, what? Why do you have to wait for Ryuga to transform the Garo armor to fight her? Why can't you just transform yourself? What? No! And then when Ryuga does summon his armor, here's the whole fight. This was the one who shines in darkness levels of bullshit. At least the armor for Zango was pretty damn badass looking. Too bad we didn't see more of it. It seems like only Shiho Torada scored this show. The music is still fantastic as always, with some truly outstanding pieces.
やく今宵なら分かってくれると信じていました。
The opening was composed by the masterful Yuki Kajura with lyrics sung by Jam Project, which makes sense since the opening is fucking phenomenal. Kajura has done the soundtrack for the Dot Hex series, Noir, and Les Portraits de Petite Cosette. There are two ending themes, with the second being used solely in the finale. Both are obviously done by Jam Project. The main closing is titled Sora wa Keguranaki Shira no Nabida. Say that title in repeated succession. It's an okay ending. I'm a bit disappointed the show cheapened up by just showing screenshots from the episode rather than having a creative end credits sequence. Ron is the name of the second opening. Really? Ron? That's it? Okay. It's not my favorite either, but it does work as a send-off to our heroes. The episodes. This should have been a full-length series instead of a half series. One of the biggest issues with Heir to Steel Armor is the pacing. There is just too much going on for 12 episodes. We have 6 new characters, half of them are just time wasters because they amount to nothing. Character development takes a major backseat, with the new characters having only seconds to really develop their personalities. And while we do at least get a moment to learn who they are as a person, there's no time for growth. Soma has a complete change of character in the span of minutes, whereas it should have taken episodes of him reflecting the change. The plot twist with Mizuki makes little sense while also being utterly predictable because it's already been done several times over in the franchise. Koyori has a stronger ending than her beginning, which was a surprise as she seemed like she was going to be there just for fan service. Then we have Ryuga's flashback with Soma's dad. It is implied he spent days, maybe weeks with his dad to learn his new technique, but to us, the audience, Ryuga learned it in a matter of seconds. It also doesn't help the flashback occurs late in the series, whereas it should have been done sooner. It's also important enough that it deserved to be an episode or two on its own had this been a regular length series. However, those pale in comparison to what my biggest point of contention is with this show. Each episode shows a bunch of scenes from the previous episodes to recap what is going on. Sometimes it's just a few minutes of the previous episode. 3 minutes of episode 11's runtime is spent on a recap, with then another minute for the opening song and 2 minutes for the ending theme and the previews for the next episode. That means 6 freaking minutes are wasted, leaving 18 minutes of show. For a series that was relegated to 12 episodes, that is unacceptable. That time could have gone to developing its characters and plot rather than being wasted on telling us what happened in the episode we just watched. I just don't get why they felt the need to do this. Even the minute-long recaps feel too long when there is very little substance to keep the show going. If this is the future of the Garo franchise, I say end it now. I just can't believe anyone thought this was a good idea, and really tells me that Kodama was not the writer we should have gotten for this series. Like, where the hell was Amemiya? Was he okay with this? Should we expect him to come back to the next show to do damage control again with Soma and Koyori? Maybe he can bring back Rian, Ryume, Doringo, and Yukahime while he is at it? I miss them severely, and if the series was going to be so limited, it should have starred the characters we already know and love to allow a plot to fully cook. Instead, we've got some half-baked, underexposed, unfulfilling dumpster fire. I do not hate this show, as there were a lot of good ideas. They are just marred by mediocrity. My favorite episode is easily the series premiere, Genesis. It really set a tone the rest of the series could not handle. We got 2 wicked battles with horrors, one that was exceptionally creepy, and one at the end who you felt his motives were justified. It introduced us to a new setting and brought in 2 of the new characters when the time was right. It was suspenseful, creepy, and well shot, well lit. The opening sequence with the horror is exactly what a horror-based Toku show should entail. On the other hand, my least favorite episode belongs to the 5th episode, Epiphany. Funny enough, it is the first episode to be full of action, have actual armor action after 2 episodes of nothing, and yet it was an utter disappointment because it is rehashing the exact same plot from Red Requiem, the 4th episode of Goldstorm Sho, and God's Fang. Kamen Rider Agito himself, Toshiki Kashu, plays a businessman who is running a scam.
金を騙し取るというマインドは捨てろ。株や投資と同じ。俺たちは儲け話を教えてやってるんだ。金こそ全てだ。金こそ全てだ。腹から声出せ。金こそ全てだ。金こそ全てだ。
You need to chill the fuck out, Elon. His obsession turns him and all of his employees into horrors, and they overrun the entire office building, killing anyone in sight.
オビ、その人を安全な場所ま。
Our Makai Sextet has to rescue the survivors and stop the horror menace. Plot sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like I said, this plot has been done 3 times over in the franchise, making this the most redundant episode ever. Now I will give it credit because it does have some superb fights and great camera work. I really like the one of Ryuga as he is traversing down a hallway shot from the outside that is enhanced by good music. There is a nice moment that pans of him traveling up a staircase on the outside after he has finished the horrors on that part of the building. Nevertheless, it's just boring because it's so familiar. That was a complete letdown. Now, I did not hate it, as there were a lot of good ideas I did like, such as Ryuga being a mentor. But coming off of Goldstorm Sho, this is a complete step backwards. As such, I am going to give Garo Heir to Steel Armor a generous 3 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. If this is the end of Ryuga's tale, let it be so. Goldstorm Sho was the peak, and we're now on the decline. It is still worth a one-time watch, especially with all the production values it had, like the horror makeup is incredible. And as I said, there were a few good ideas. It's not all that well written. And there's just really irksome pieces to it. If you are a huge Garo fan, give it a one-time watch. It is worth it. I mean, it's only 12 episodes, so you're not investing too much time into it. It's just a shame that I had to end Halloween month, Garoween month, on such a somber note. It's just the way it is. Until next time. Bye. Welcome, we are the Credit Detection Agency. Please stay on the line until our next operator.
まさか今の声は。